We're lucky enough to have Sean Koerner back here on Happy Hour. Miss this guy, love this guy, love shooting the breeze with him. He's meant for Happy Hour. He's going to talk to us about who's on the rocks. We have some players possibly injured, returning from injury. I think one of the headliners here has to be Kyler Murray. Sounds like he's going to play this week. The Cardinals are getting 1.5 at home against Atlanta, who's had quarterback issues of their own. What can we expect out of Kyler? What's this mean from a gambling perspective? I got him stashed on my fantasy bench. What is going to go on here?
So, I think he might start off a bit slow because, this is still a brand new scheme for him. It's a new coaching staff. He's coming back from an ACL tear, so I don't think he's going to have the same rushing upside we're used to seeing, at least out of the gate. So I would say he's probably only about a 2.5 point upgrade over Josh Dobbs, although he's probably a 4.5 to 5 point upgrade over what we saw last week from Clayton Tune. I mean, that was just absolutely ridiculous. So glad to have him back. I have some futures of them finishing with exactly 4 or 5 wins exactly. So I needed him back soon. So I do think they get a couple point boost here. Plus, they're probably getting James Conner back, their starting running back. He was great for them in weeks 1 through 5. They've really struggled to run the ball since then. So I think getting back the combo of Kyler and Conner might be worth, 2.5 to 3 points here. So, I have this right around where the market has it, Falcons -1.5, but the Cardinals have 3 offensive linemen that are questionable. So if 1 to 3 of them miss the game, their power rating is going to drop probably half point or a point. But if they can get, all 3 of those offensive linemen to suit up, Conner back, Murray back, it's going to boost them by about 3 points.
Yeah, those cluster. Glosh, were you going to step in? I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I have a burning question over here.
I'm already turning my attention to the next one. But anything else on Murray?
No, I have to do Murray because I looked in here. I did some reading, do some research, and it sounded like the Cardinals offensive coordinator was saying he expects Kyler to run the way he usually runs. And then I clicked into the article. I said, let me read the exact quote here. And it was not as advertised. He said things like, there's always the nature of a franchise quarterback. You see it around the league. There's an injury risk associated with them being mobile, yada, yada, yada. Every time he goes down, we're going to say, is he good? Is he going to get up? So that to me was not as encouraging as the headline was. And I'm guessing you see it in the same way. And that's all sort of baked in.
Yeah, exactly. It's still sort of a mystery, kind of hard to decipher that coach speak specifically, but they do need to get him out there. I think they need to evaluate. They have a decision to make this offseason. They might have a very high draft pick. It's a new coaching regime, so they might want to go a different route, different quarterback. So they need to get him out there, see how he looks in the scheme. But I don't expect them to be running it like we used to see, out of the rip. But, maybe after a couple games, he gets comfortable, takes his first hit. We do see him run more, but out of the gate, I think he will be a bit rusty.
I think having James Conner back will be beneficial, but who knows how he looks. It might take him a week or so to get acclimated because it sounded like they wanted to hold off on Conner as well. There's better news on Murray than Conner as of right now. Let's go to Cincinnati, okay? The Bengals, we all know they've turned their season around. They've won 4 in a row. They beat the crap out of Buffalo Sunday night, but as it turns out, and we know their schedule's a gauntlet going forward, they have dug themselves a hole. And to make matters worse, Koerner, Jamar Chase, a brutal-looking fall on his back, and he wasn't present at practice today. So where are we at with Jamar Chase? Bengals take on the Texans, but it's really not just about the Texans this week. It's about the rest of their schedule, working their way into the postseason picture. What impact does Jamar Chase have? And you actually have some data from last year when he missed time.
So obviously, Chase is one of the more valuable wide receivers in the league. I would say he's probably worth about 1.5 against the spread. He's that valuable. They do have T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd, who are more than capable of stepping up to Chase out. The Bengals went 3-1 without Chase last year. So, they were fine. Obviously, they want Chase rather than not have him. But their wide receivers are good enough to step up. Plus, Joe Burrow has looked much closer to 100% the past couple games. I was actually docking him 2 to 3 points when he was playing through that calf injury. He looked like below average quarterback. So I think him being healthier will make it more likely he can at least overcome Jamar Chase's absence in the short term. I did notice the total seemed a bit high. It's 48 with Chase being iffy. That does seem a bit high. I would say if Chase misses the game, it might drop to like 46.5. So right now the Bengals, it's -6.5. I think if Chase does suit up, we see that go to 7, maybe 7.5, depending on how healthy he is. And if he's ruled out, I could see it dropping down to Bengals, -6 or -5 here.
Okay. Very good.
Yeah, you can tell me to go take a hike, but I'm eyeing Texans +7 here. Is there a better chance I wait for Chase news or not?
Well, he still hasn't practiced, right? So
Not
I
present
think
today. Not
yeah,
present.
I
Wednesday.
think you'd probably want to take it now. At this point, if he does suit up, I don't know if he's going to be 100%. So yeah, I think it's hard to see it really getting up to 7.5. So if you like it now, grab it at 7.
Fair enough. Fair
Yeah,
enough.
it's such a weird, because like I said, that schedule matters. They can't afford to look ahead to at Baltimore because they need to keep stacking up wins. But I say that to Carter's point, they've got enough with Higgins and Boyd. Could they beat the Texans without Jamar Chase? I think so, and then get him ready for that Baltimore game Thursday night, short week. They could be like, let's have Jamar Chase at least at close to 80% for that short week Thursday night game, then just force him back against the Texans. So again, we're speculating on that one, but something to monitor. What else we got, Tim?
Yeah, and I don't need a win, Glash. I just need a cover. So that's why we love gambling. You're wearing the Lions hat, Koerner. How about David Montgomery? I think I talked about fantasy earlier, fantasy owners with Gibbs, Montgomery. It's been quite the cluster. It's been figure it out every single week on the fly. You have some great notes here in our little production notebook over here. What should we see with this whole nonsense going on in this backfield, this unpredictability?
Well, I mean, so far it's been pretty predictable. David Montgomery is my highest drafted running backs in that RB 25-30 range because I thought this would sort of be how it would shake out this year. But Jamar Gibbs, people that drafted him probably had to spend a top 15 pick in terms of running backs to grab him. And they have been very frustrated. The first 4 or 5 games, he was really just a change of pace back. But, with Montgomery out week 7 through 8, he was the number 1 scoring back in fantasy. So they finally got to cash in a bit on their high draft pick for him. But with Montgomery potentially back this week, I see his role going back to more of what it was in weeks 1 and 4, which is more of a change of pace back and, the pass catching back. And that's certainly very valuable on the Lions team. Jared Goff loves to check it down as running back. So he's still going to be a high-end RB2 this week. I think he could see a little bit more work going forward. But Montgomery is going to take over the early down role and the goal line back role, and that is very valuable in the Lions. We saw Jamal Williams lead the league in touchdowns last year in that role. Montgomery was on pace to do that if he didn't get hurt. So I think both of these backs are RB2s. If you have them, you're playing them. And if either one misses time, the other one's a top 5 running back. So I think this is, great backfield investment because of that. And that's why I was drafting Montgomery so much in that RB 25-30 range. But if you have either of these backs, you're playing them this week.
Leave it to me. You speak of fantasy, the idiot. I take your fantasy rankings for my fantasy drafts. I print them out, take the highlighter and the red pen, and Montgomery sat there and he fell and he fell and he fell. And every time it came to my pick, I said, I think Koerner's wrong about this. I think Koerner's wrong about this. So as I say, it's been unpredictable. That's why you're the expert. I'm the idiot in the host chair. And you tell me it's actually been very predictable.
What color highlighter does Koerner get when you highlight? So you highlight guys you want, and then what color does Koerner get? Like the Koerner selections.
I do yellow for me, pink for Koerner.
Okay.
I don't have a lot of highlighters. I steal them from my sister.
Hey, you know something? It just got me thinking here. Like, I know Montgomery's been out, like legitimately out, but when you're 6-2 and you're the Lions, I know we don't care about that. We care about our fantasy and our picks and whatnot, but look what's happening with Arthur Smith in Atlanta. It's because when you lose games and you're mixing and matching running backs, well, you're going to get crap for it. But when you're 6-2 and Dan Campbell's pushing all the right buttons, and depending on how he makes these two work when they're together, as long as they're winning, the Lions do not care. They do not care. And they can get away with it when they're winning games. That's for sure. All right. I think that's all we got. Thanks, Koerner.